make sure that you know that I'm a live person. I'm here. I'm thrilled to be sharing what I know with you, and I will tell you right now that I've got tons. I have absolutely tons. And what I have done is I've narrowed it down into something that is digestible for you, digestible for you. So this next hour, you will walk away with something that you can absolutely do. I promise you that. Something that you can absolutely do right off the bat that will help you feel better about what you're doing as a consultant. I also will guarantee you that you will have that sense, if I'm not helping already, you will have that sense of feeling like you're a part of a bigger community. When we're in business for ourselves, we're solopreneurs. We're doing things alone. We might have a small community locally that helps us out, but for the most part, you sit. I mean, I'm sitting in my beautiful office. I wish I could show you the sitting area, but I would mess up my cords, so I'm not going to do that right now. But you know, we like feeling like we're part of a bigger picture, and so that's what we're doing here. And so I'm gonna stop sharing my webcam. Just want to make sure you saw me, and I did put on a little bit of lipstick, but I didn't put on much makeup. So we're going to stop sharing my webcam, and we're going to go back to the screen. Take a minute and give me a check as to how the sound is coming through. I see Amy and Deborah and Julie and Jessica. I see logged on. I see Beverly and hey Carol, how are you? Um, Good to see you there. Yeah, yay, yay. I see Fran. Great to hear from you, Fran. So glad to have you here. I see Martha. Thanks for tuning in. Got your question, Martha. We're going to talk about that in just a little while as well. So please use that question box as a way of engaging and keeping those questions coming. I am running a couple of things with my left arm and with my right arm, so if I don't get to your question right away, I guarantee that I will be getting to it before too long, so just hang in there, okay? All right, let's move that over there, and I'm going to breathe. I see two or three of you from Texas. I see one of you from Oklahoma. All right, Midwest. Um, I want you to understand my. First of all, let me give you a background of what's happening here. I'm Katie Snap. If you haven't met me before, I'm a management consultant. Many people ask, "Oh, what the heck is that?" Well, about a year ago, in my business as an expert coach for women, I realized that women like me were feeling stuck, overwhelmed as a consultant, and some of you are coaches, I know. We all tended to have one thing in common. That was fear and self-doubt. Now, is it everybody? No, not across the board, but it's pretty much of a trend. So as a professional management consultant, I'm trained to look for performance gaps. So I asked myself what I was doing so successfully that got me over a period of despair, that lack of self-confidence and stuckedness that I'd been dealing with in the past. And that's when I used my instructional skills and my consulting skills to put the answer to that, which is how to overcome those inadequacies. I put them into teachable stuff, tactable. I believe strongly in tactical and practical, which is part of what you'll get here. And then even then I put it into something bigger. I put it into a course called the Time to Fly course. So I'm excited to speak to you now about some of those actionable steps. They're the 3 simple steps to confidence. So snuggle in and perk up those ears. I've got some super valuable tips to share. Okay? Let's see if you're the right person for the audience before you spend too much time in it. So I'm asking you to dedicate an hour to this. And I really want you to dedicate it to yourself. I want you to look at it as something that's dedicated to yourself. Let's make sure you're the right audience for it. You should be at least a semi-experienced consultant. And by experience, I mean, maybe you're just launching, maybe you're on the verge of launching, but you're not somebody that's coming to the table with the idea of, I wonder if I should have a consulting business. So this is pretty much those of you that know that you're on the path to being or are a consultant. And I'll define coaches in that picture here in just a minute in case that fits you. There's often some frustration around that area. Maybe that's you. Maybe you feel like you're stuck in some things. That could be being stuck in what you charge. Are you clueless about some things? Like, I don't know what my business approach is. I might know the technical piece of my consulting, but I don't know what my business approach is. Maybe you don't know much about selling, or you're clueless about your selling approach. You just figure, hey, I'm likable. Certainly people will buy from me. And you may be hiding some confidence issues. That's so completely normal. Let me just let you know that right now. For those of you that are coaches, here's the way I position coaching. You'll hear me mostly use the term consultant, but you can substitute coach in there if that fits you better. So I see consulting as this overarching umbrella of we do this and this, and we go out in the world and do this and this. Coaching, I believe, is a subset of that. So I see it as that you've got to run your business the same way. You might interact differently with your clients directly when you are delivering your product or your service than a consultant would. But you're really, the structure and the business model of your business is the same. So you fit in here nicely, but you're going to hear me use the term coaching or consulting a little bit more. Okay, so basically this is for those of you that are saying there's got to be a better way. Maybe you kind of feel like you're flailing. Maybe you feel like you didn't know how you got into this field. You may not have gone to school to be in this field. That's certainly what happened to me. Who is this not for? If you're a woman that doesn't believe in yourself, I can't really help you. I'm making, maybe some therapy professionally, and then perhaps jump in. If you're looking for a quick fix, I've got some quick actionable and tactical things, but you've got to be able to sustain them. If you're not willing to put an effort into improving your business. Now, those of you in the audience, those couple dozen of you that I see are here engaged, typing things in. Yes. Hello, Monica. Great to have you here too, from Wisconsin. Okay. If you're not willing to put an effort into your business, but you're here, so that says to me that you're putting some effort in. My question might be, are you paying attention? So this is for you. This is not me lecturing. This is for you. I sound like my mother. Women who don't see the value in spending money on what you know will be worthwhile for your business, if you don't see that, then I don't think you have the confidence of it takes money to make money. And women who are not already in consulting or coaching, although I will give you the caveat that if you're clearly on the path to that and it's not just a whim, then you're okay. This is good. Many of us are stagnant in one of several areas. Excuse me. What I notice is that we are not going out to get help from others, or we feel faint about admitting to others that we're on the verge of maybe failure or collapse or not doing something well. So we beat ourselves up because we feel like we should know how to be doing these things. And if you're asking yourself questions like, am I capable of building a business that has credibility? What if people don't see me as legitimate? So much of what we ask ourselves leads to that fear and self-doubt and the frustration that, there's got to be a better way. So maybe you're asking yourself whether you are indeed good enough. And even if you're good enough at helping others, what does it take to be successful? What are other people doing? So this isn't just skills. This is fortitude and creativity and technical expertise. And it's starting to sound a little scary now, right? But there's that fear again. Lastly, what you'll learn about overcoming today is building a growing business with confidence and composure, because it's doable. It's not rocket science. Trust me, and I'm comfortable with rocket science. It's not rocket science. And it sounds a bit like a magic pill, but truly you have that confident capability in you. You just need someone like me to be reminding you of it, to tapping it out of you, and to holding up a mirror. So my pledge to you that is, if you step through this training piece with me today with an open mind, you're going to be able to see whether there is a piece that's missing for you. And I'm hoping that that's going to transform the way you look right now at your consulting business, and you see it with more clarity. Or maybe you're on the path and you're excited and you feel confident, but you need more clarity, and you need to know that there's a profitable way. And well, hell, why not make it enjoyable too at this meantime? I mean, come on, we're doing this because we love helping other people. So I'm going to cover the 3 steps that get you there, and all 3 of these have something in common. all three help you build that confidence that leads to more contentment as a consultant and more clarity in seeing that you can do this. And the natural outcrop of that is going to be more business, so that's good. And that happens automatically with increased credibility and confidence that you'll be showing. The business, I say trust in the process, because that will lead to having the more stable business. Confidence is that key ingredient to success as a female consultant. So those three skills that I'll share with you in just a minute will help you, because most of us are in a male-dominated or maybe a male-based field to boot. Now, stick with me till the end. You'll note that I've got a great one-pager with immediate helpful advice around these three steps, and that's worthy of hanging around for, to have that one-pager. Now, the 1 hour is worth it anyway, but this, as I said, this is an invested time in yourself. So I'll make sure that you get that. For those of you that are with me till the end, I know who you are, and I can see you on the login, and GoToWebinar keeps track of that for me. So that checklist, that one-pager, has 3 areas of a powerful image that comes from a training that Carol and I have done in the past about your powerful self, and it gives you a quick checklist for your physical presentation, your verbal presentation, and your written presentation, plus a technique that I use a lot called the anchoring technique. Quick note about, hey, why listen to me? So what's the unknown in this picture? Well, it's Katie. Why listen to me? Okay, I get it. I'm confident. I'm composed. I'm successful 100% of the time, right? No, not at all. But here's a question that you might have for me right now. Can Katie relate to me? Well, I think so, but that's for you to decide. And I'll give you some stories throughout this hour that will give you some insight as to some things that I have faced that maybe run parallel to what you're facing or have recently faced. How many of you went to school to learn how to do what you're doing as a consultant? Okay. I see a couple. Nope, not me. No. I can tell you what I've been through, and you can see what parallels your own path. When I first got into consulting 25 years ago, I had just left a career as an engineer. I was asked to come on board a national consulting firm where I'd been in their client base, and they spotted me and they said, she's got great communication skills, we're growing, we need her. So it's important to note here that this was when I applied for my first business license. I was an independent contractor, so technically I had my own business and was subcontracted to deliver work. Note, no one told me what to do to have a consulting business or how to do it. And I don't know who does it out there. In fact, I got into it for one reason. I was good at training, I was good at team building, I was good at communication skills. In fact, I had excellent communication skills, and that's what they needed me for, to bring people in like me to work with their clients. And over those years, you know, I was a big part of the quality revolution. I won't go into a lot of these, but I used a lot of my interpersonal know-how, did dozens and dozens and probably hundreds of things that evolved into today, things that look like Lean and Six Sigma, a lot of methodologies that are fundamental and fabulous and are still around. But at the end of the day, I didn't have to do client management like I do now. I didn't have to do further follow-up or selling. I was contracted, and that firm that contracted me did all that. So I got a lot of the technical expertise by doing their work with them. And it was easy. I was a technician. You're going to hear me use the term technician. I was the technician. That's the term that I use about the hands-on piece, not the marketing, not the administration, or even the leadership in my own business. You have to know those. You have to have your hands around those and know firmly what you're doing when for all of those pieces, not just the technical piece, but the marketing and the administration of your own business. But remember that technical piece, because you have to have that in your business as well. So I had a ball, and I love the people I worked with. It was a great boom, but you know what's coming? Nothing fabulous lasts forever. National environment change, many of those large clients built around internal expertise that they all had. You know, they were hiring us at multi-million-dollar contracts, and then they stopped. So my business came to a screeching halt, and suddenly I had the oh crap moment. It required me to refocus, and I turned to a regional focus and began building my business. And over those next 8 years, I struggled with selling and delivering my services as my own business. No one ever told me how to do it. I had an engineering degree. I mean, what good is that for what I was doing? It really was nothing to do with what I was doing. So I assume you get it. You may even be there, or you're dealing with things like not knowing what to charge, what you're worth, or inconsistent clients, or lack of confidence when selling. So there's one thing that I realized unlocked all of those stuck systems, and that was my self-confidence. It was huge. And it's not really easy, but it's simple. It's like smoking. You know, hey, quit smoking. Well, that's not really easy, but it's simple, right? So there was some simple aspect to it, and it's completely doable for someone like you. So whatever those snags are that you have, I want you to start thinking about what those are and where you're going to apply these methodologies. So you know that there's something that's attracted you to consulting, this business that's in front of you. You know there's something you love about it. I want you to soak in that. It's powerful. It's got great potential. I can't tell you the depth of what it's done for me. I've talked to a women's group at the United Nations. It's been wonderful. So don't give up on that. This is a client list. I'm not going to go into that, but I just want you to know that I've done a lot with this. And I've built a business, in my online business, many of you know as Grit Strategies. I'm a published author, touched thousands of women's lives. So I know where I'm coming from. That sounds haughty, but I know what I'm talking about, and I want you to listen to me. That's why listen to me, but I hope you feel good about it, okay? So enough about that. To recap, I want that sort of a business for you. I want you to be taking it up a notch. I want you to visualize it. I want you to thrive and love and affect others. It's okay that you've got some snags right now. It might be frustrating. That's okay. But that's going to be the tension that moves you to make changes, right? Snags like that, lack of self-confidence, or not knowing what your business looks like, or not really having any internal strategy or structure to your business, or not charging what you're worth, constantly getting stuck in that, or fear of technology, or fear of any of those snags. If those resonate with you, then this is going to be a great approach for you. This is going to help you tremendously. Ready? All right, let's keep going. One quick congratulations to you. Warm virtual hug. Being a coach or a consultant is a serious business, and it changes people's lives. That's why it's great to be in it. I'm going to guess that you like doing it because you like affecting other people and you like helping other people. Putting that positive energy back into the universe is going to come back to you tenfold. With my hand on my heart, it gives me completion. So don't consider bailing out of consulting. There is work in it, yeah. But this article came from, or this excerpt came from Entrepreneur Magazine, about 20 consulting areas thriving today. And I found this last year in online, and I thought, gosh, oh my gosh, look at the arena of consulting areas. It's absolutely growing. And some of these you're like, really? Those can grow as a consulting business? They're thriving. You can do it. The good news about consulting is that in a Forbes study I saw recently, they stated by 2020 about 65 to 80% of middle management workforce is going to be eliminated and replaced by consultants. And I believe that because of the cost of payroll, taxes, and insurance. It's overwhelming. So here are the 3 steps that we're going to cover. This is what you'll walk away with. Establish credibility. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about building your skill set as the second step. And step number 3, and these don't have to be in order, by the way, although I call them steps, is to position yourself as the expert. Okay, so let's start with that first one. Credibility. How big is it in what you're going to be doing? I mean, what does it mean if you've got a credible business? Would you say yours is credible right now? If you had to go tell someone that you were credible, what would it look like? Let me start with this. What does it cost you if it's not credible? Right? Let's just talk a bit about what it costs you. In my early days as a consultant, I didn't have a lot of credibility unless it was with one of my gray-haired colleagues who happened to be standing next to me speaking my praises. That helped. In the consulting business, certainly age helps. I love that about it. People align it with experience, and for the most part, that is true. My problem was that even after a short period of my career as a consultant, I didn't work on building my credibility because I didn't know how. And more importantly, I didn't even realize it was important or that it was a problem. If credibility is the quality of being trusted and believed in. And if you don't appear confident, how likely are you to get trusted and believed in? Right? So the confidence is a big piece of that. I think it's the lever behind it. And I've had experiences where, early in my career, went and called on someone, worked up my nerve and went and called on somebody who happened to run a bank. His daughter was a close friend of mine, and I had some great ideas because I thought, oh, here's a connection. Maybe I can be a consultant. Here's a connection. And so I went in there and winged it. And I would say that I was doing a great fake it to make it, because I was excited at the prospect. But I did not have credibility, and I did not put it into the conversation because I really didn't have a sales process either. There's a very unique sales process for consulting. It's not talking people into things, and it's not talking all about yourself. But that's what I did, and at the end of my monologue, Bill warmly stated, well, Katie, you did a great job. Nice. And that was it. And by his tone, I could tell that he was simply just letting me know that that's, what he was there for is just to listen. So you can see I really didn't get a close, no big sale, anything like that. But it was the fact that I didn't have any sort of building relationship process or listening to the needs. But more importantly, I didn't have credibility, and I didn't show confidence in my credibility because there wasn't any. And that reflected in everything I did. So, what brings me to the next question that I want you to be asking of yourself, and this is how I found my way through it. I'm going to start you with a quick task to facilitate this credibility building process, okay? We're going to tap into a confidence that you already have. Here's the question, or a task, I guess. Write down a time when you did something well and got a great response from it. You did something well and got a great response from it. I'm going to give you about 15 seconds. Jot something down. If you can't think of something, you can come back to it later. But here's why this is important. Women struggle with not feeling legitimate. I know that's a generalization, but it's a complex issue that women have, and it stems from our history in some ways of not being in the workplace or the working world space as long as men have, especially if you're in a male-based environment. I know that's a generality. Most of the arenas where we work are either male-dominated or male-based. And by male-based, I mean things are done, decisions are made. It's much like a man world. It's kind of command and control. Oh, I need to note a caveat here because I realize that not all men are that way, and I'm speaking in a very general way, but most men are different than most women. And most women leading their consulting business look at what they're doing and question themselves much more often than men do. All right? So that command and control that men do, I mean, we see that and we're like, okay, I guess that's the way to do it. But that's not really authentically us often. And often there's something beyond that it is authentically us that gets buried. So your natural style of collaboration is welcomed as a consultant. It's not that we sometimes doubt ourselves, sure, but how much do you know about what that natural style is of yours? So when you build credibility, you want to send a message. The desired message you want to send is this: I am legitimate. Oh yeah, it's that easy. No, it's not. You're obviously not going to just come on and say, I'm legitimate. You need to listen to me, Bill. It's like hearing somebody that you hardly know say, hey, trust me. It just doesn't work that way, right? But you're wanting to send the unspoken message of I am legitimate. So when you next go into a prospect or a client, or you're with a working group, think about how well you're sending the message, I am legitimate. Here's some more specific around it. You can do it with 4 specific behaviors. Let me tell you what those 4 behaviors are right now. The first one, be inspiring. Inspire, broken down into the Latin root, actually means to breathe life into. Inspire, to breathe spirit into. There's several ways to be inspiring. Some of the best methods involve telling your story. So to a client, that may not mean dragging the conversation out into a life story about yourself, but rather listening to their hang-ups or their gaps in performance, and then translating that into a story about how to overcome it. It might also mean creativity, showing ingenuity in coming up with solutions for them. or reflecting your point of view about the future for them. So that's inspiring, is showing them the path forward, because that's what you're there for. Second behavior, be comfortable. Well, guess what happens when others see you as uncomfortable? It translates into one of two things, or both. You're not confident about what you're saying, which is the kiss of death. If you don't believe in what you say, then how am I going to pay you to, right, if I'm your prospect? Or number two, you're uncomfortable about hiding something, and that could be taken as manipulating or not telling the truth, more kiss of death. So you can overcome that. But first of all, you can tell yourself, be comfortable, because if you really believe in, I can be comfortable in front of these people, you can tap into that and you can find more of it, but you've got to remind yourself that. You can also overcome it by tapping into this next behavior, which is being confident. Now, I know that can be a big stretch if indeed you are not confident, so that fake it to make it technique, if you don't know it, if you don't use it very often, it's just that. It's just pretend you are, because that will help you. It will help your body respond to, I'm doing it well, I'm walking strong, I'm walking in firm, I feel I know what I'm doing, I'm going to project that I know what I'm doing, and then I'll figure it out later. That's perfectly fine. Now, you don't want to be manipulative, or you don't want to say something that is not true of yourself, but you don't want to be showing the weakness of, oh my God, I have no idea what's going on here. Although someone might look at you like, oh, I love the fact that you're so honest about that. They're not going to feel good about paying you money to lead them through something. So your only choice at some point, if you're not confident, is to fake it to make it until you can work on all the cogs and wheels in the background until you get there. Right? Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Beth. Thumbs up. I appreciate that. Be focused. Lastly, be focused. You're there with the client to work on an issue. So there's a commentator that's often on MSNBC's Morning Joe that I sometimes watch, and his name is Steve Ratner. And his title, the title they put under his name, this always sounds so official to me, is Former Treasury Official. And first off, I love that title because it just sounds impressive. But what strikes me about him is he's got these horn-rimmed glasses and this non-emotive face. And how deeply he appears to be concentrating, I think he is concentrating on the conversation at hand. And often those are the world issues with complex dialogue, and he's just drilling, he's just listening to it, and then he says something articulate. He instills a sense of crazy good credibility by doing that. Now, don't forget that. While you're trying to be inspiring and comfortable and confident, don't forget you have to engage mentally in the conversation at hand. Yes, you do. Okay? If that perhaps sounds a little all too tall of an order, please let me stress, this is really not that complicated. It's not that much of a stretch. Once you breathe a little bit and get focused, you can do all this. When you put your mental intention to these, if only one at a time, it becomes a behavioral habit and your credibility will soar. So remind yourself of your legitimacy. I am legitimate. Okay? Does that sound like something you can begin to take on and take a stab at and take it up a notch for those of you that are doing much of it already, right? When we do that in the Time to Fly course, here's an example of somebody that took that real life. Elena, I got to share with you a coaching call that I had with Elena. We were on the phone. She was in the middle of the series, the Time to Fly course. She's an alumni, or an alum, I guess, and we were in a small coaching group. She raised her hand to share what she'd experienced since the last lesson, and she's a professional facilitator and trainer, but relatively new to running her own business. And she was enthusiastic about the market outreach that she'd done. As an assignment to lay some groundwork for her getting her name out there, and in the process of following through with the system, she cultivated a relationship in the community. But this relationship, this woman, was a competitor, and she wouldn't have otherwise had that relationship. So this relationship saw a confidence, there was going to be a confidence, and this woman saw some confidence in Elena. And while Elena was in the midst of this Time to Fly course, her confidence was soaring. And she tried things because of that, because she had the support. She got comfortable with no. And she found out that she got no amazingly less frequently than she ever would have thought. And she learned how to sustain that confidence. And so soon that competitor that she'd met had mentioned to Elena that she wanted to take her out to lunch, and at that lunch she offered her a share of her business that she was conducting as a consultant. Kaboom! Immediate business for Elena because she showed credibility, right? She was legitimate. She carried herself that way. She had a plan. But I give Elena all the credit on this because she put herself out there and proudly did it, and confidently. So that's why that's important in Time to Fly. Establish credibility. Right, so that's the first of the steps. Establish credibility. Now, secondly, build your skill set. How many of you might be asking yourself, I don't know if I have what it takes? I mean, do you say that? Appreciate that, Dee Dee. I appreciate the yes. Yeah, a couple other yeses. Bernadette, Melissa, thank you. Sometimes by Melinda, thank you. Chances are that if you've reached out to take this webinar, you've got a will and a mindset to do something, so that's good. Don't undervalue that. That's why I gave you a virtual hug earlier. You're doing something. You've also planted a tree of uncertainty, perhaps. I want you to chop that tree down. But the realm of consulting does indeed require an advanced skill set, and there's well, let me show you the big picture of what I think it takes. For me, which I have an engineering degree, and so my skill set was like, well, how does that apply? And instead of seeing my engineering as something that could be established credibility because it shows accomplishment, I guess, I went to the conclusion that, well, my clients can't relate to engineering. Most of them are not engineering. And so when they would ask me about my background, the first thing I would think of is, oh my gosh, how am I going to give them some sort of a background that sounds like a good fit for them? I went immediately to thinking how useless I am with an engineering degree, right? Wrong approach. What got me past is this simple analogy of a bike to help me outline all those well-balanced areas. It gave me clarity in knowing what skills to build. So this concept may not be new to you, but I want you to look at what you're doing as having two domains: hard skills and soft skills, and it takes maintaining both. So hard skills is the task, soft skills is the people. Get it? Right? And in a bike you have to have both, unless you're riding a unicycle. I want to share with you the skills required for you not to just build and maintain, but to get through the decision in front of you about going forward. It works like two wheels of a bike. So the front wheel is the balance and it gives you direction, right? And those are the soft skills. And the back wheel, balance also, but it gives you the drive and the power that gets you there. And this was a huge aha for me, because before I ever saw consulting as having a balance, I thought I might just rely on my people skills, right? Hey, dynamic interpersonal skills, woo-woo, I can get clients bought in. And I'm sure there are lots of prospects that would love to chat it up with me in a meeting or a mixer or something, but I didn't have the goods to back up that talk. No magic wand would come of it. So don't do what I did. Don't get stuck in using your natural approach in only one wheel, but look at both. So I'll tell you what is involved in some of the front wheel and the back wheel, so you know the most specifics. In the front wheel, do you have these front wheel skills? Mental toughness. Being in business for yourself, yeah, you got to have some mental toughness. I think that just kind of goes without saying. And you can't take things personally, right? So you've got to be resilient. You got to be resilient because you're going to have those ups and downs. Resiliency is the ability to bounce back. How flexible are you? Remember, most of what happens to you is probably not because of something personal. It was a lack of communication, or it was somebody that didn't tell you exactly what they were thinking, or it was something that had nothing to do with you. All right? Because of all that, you should have optimism. If you're not a natural optimist, well, you know that you've probably got some techniques around overcoming that. But when you hear yourself being negative, simply catch yourself and turn off the negativity. Often I'll say, if it's too difficult, if it's too much of a stretch to turn something negative into positive, then simply turn it into neutral. Just let it go. The lead time on consulting, on getting clients, the lead time can be long. So it takes patience. This is why your business having a structure and a process and those 3 legs of the business that I mentioned earlier, not just the deliverable, which is your expertise. I call that the portfolio. In Time to Fly course, I call that your portfolio, your package of services and products. Maybe it's assessments, maybe it's coaching, maybe it's training, maybe it's face-to-face, whatever it might be. That's your portfolio. You've also got to have a marketing leg of your business, and you've also got to have a leadership leg, which is the administrative piece. So the patience is important, because you've got to know that there's going to be times when some of those parts of the business are latent. And you've got to have strong relationship skills for obvious reasons. People are investing money in you. They want to know that they like you, believe it or not. They want to know that you're going to get the job done. That's kind of a buying style, actually. There's some people that don't care if they don't like you. You'd like them to, maybe you want them to like you, but knowing what their buying style is important. And then the ability to think on your feet. For many of us, this scares the heck out of us. If we're in a meeting and it's it's the senior staff and they're talking about bringing you in as a consultant, or it's one-on-one with someone and they're talking about bringing you in for executive coaching, what goes through our mind often is, I've got to have all the answers. I've got to have all the answers. I want you to let go of that. I'm going to talk about that in the 3rd skill here in just a bit. But you don't have to have all the answers. You're a resource, but you don't necessarily have to be delivering on the fly. You may have, and the more experienced you are, the more you can deliver on the fly. So that does eventually happen. So let's talk about the back end of the back wheel skills, which is building the business, the technical piece. You've got to have that technical know-how. And by technical, I don't mean widgets and IT and whatever it might be. I mean, whatever it is that's your area of expertise as a consultant, and if it's HR consulting, or if it's executive search, or if it's water rights consulting, that technical piece. That's what I'm talking about. So you've got to know that technical piece. You've got to have some writing skills. Unfortunately, if you are not careful about your writing skills, people judge you for it, and if grammar doesn't look perfect, or you're not capitalizing in the right spots, it gets translated as that person is not professional. So you've got to have pretty good writing skills. It helps to have some ingenuity. Looking for solutions, looking for creative ways of adapting for something for your clients. And last of all, you've got to have self-discipline, because I'll tell you, there's such freedom in the business. You've got to figure out what you're doing when, and that's why a structure is very, very helpful. Okay. So, I have to tout this fabulous woman, because she's done all of those technical pieces so well. This is Amy Champion, and you just can tell by her name. She's a proud graduate of the Time to Fly course, and listen to this, single mother of 4 girls under the age of 10, and she'd barely started a business as a life coach online, and wanted to do more telecoaching, but she was completely hitting a wall when she found Time to Fly. She was also a licensed professional counselor, so she had those technical skills down, right? She had that technical piece down. And look at this. See this photo on the left? And you see the computer in the background. That's a Time to Fly class session. After she finished that session, Amy sent me this photo of the 2 girls sitting alongside her mom during the class. And you can see me in the video in the background. I just thought that was such a hoot, and my heart melted. How darling. But here's Amy's testimonial. She says, my win of my first consulting client is a private school and on a retainer, and then even more work from them past that initial project. The support from hearing all of you last week gave me the push to be confident. This is what happened to Amy in lesson 4 of Time to Fly. And so, like Amy, you've got a plethora of one or the other, front wheel or back wheel skills. And in the Time to Fly course, Amy buckled down and learned that those skills that she needed in order to get that bicycle balanced better, and launched herself forward with that. Yay for you, Amy. Yay for Time to Fly for helping you do that. So that's the second step, recognizing there's two domains, two arenas of your skill set, the hard side and the soft side, the task side and the people, task and the people. It's super critical to have both, and my recommendation to you as your next area of development is to be assessing where it is you're spending your time doing that. So what is that third step? Let's jump into the third area. And I've reserved this third area as a mental challenge for you. Uh-oh, mental challenge. It's true. It nicely ties up those first two steps, and it's really where you will soar. And you'll feel good about feeling good about it really means you're soaring. When you are seen as the expert, you become a go-to when clients have issues, right? I mean, have you ever gotten a call from a past client? I hope this has happened to you. Or they run into you and they say, oh my God, I need you. Oh my God, you can't believe what's happening. And there are things that you should be doing as a clever business person in order to take advantage of that in a good way, optimize that. If they are reaching out, you need to help them. So when you start acting like the expert, you start attracting people who see you as that. That's how the law of attraction works. And the reason it's not working for you now, might you ask yourself, is it working for you now? This is what I think. We don't get what we want, we get what we blank. You want to type in, go to the question box. I know you're there. Go to the question box. We don't get what we want, we get what we, Jenny said deserve. No, it's not deserve. Lisa, like. Carol, work towards. Close, close, close. And some of those all might work. Amanda says fear. We don't get what we want, we get what we fear. Well, that's a good lead into it, Martha. We don't get what we want, we get what we portray. Here's my answer. We don't get what we want, we get what we focus on. This is the way the brain works. This is why it's so important to be so closely in touch with why you're bringing an expertise to the table as a consultant for your clients, why you're bringing an expertise to the table. Thinking like the expert you are is going to move you into the role, and then people see you as a good fit, and then they want to work with you. But I know it's a posture, and sometimes we don't always have. We don't get what we want, we get what we focus on. It's kind of like that when you're having a spaghetti dinner, and it's real kind of saucy, and you look down and you've got just a nicely bleached white shirt on, and what goes through your head? Oh, I wonder if, Fran, I see your hand. If you want to jump in on the question box and ask something, that would be fine. So when we fear something, our brain tries to make it come true, subconsciously or otherwise. When we fear something, it wants to make it come true. So that means that if we are seeing ourselves as, uh-oh, I don't know if I can get this sale, or uh-oh, I don't know if I'm doing something good for my client, then you're more likely to drive towards that. But when you start to gravitate towards seeing something happen, your brain is more likely to want to bring that to closure, the positive part of that. So I hope that made sense, but that's the way that brains work. It's called confirmation bias. So let's test this. And are some of you saying, oh, I simply cannot call myself an expert? So that's what this third step is. See yourself as the expert. Lord, that's a big word. Where's the fear in that? I'm not an expert. I don't think I can be an expert. Okay, fine. If you don't think you can be expert, here, use specialist. I'm a specialist. Or I'm a pro. In your space, whatever it is a space that you undoubtedly spend more time in than the client does. Really. If you think about it, I'm an expert in leadership. I teach communication skills, diplomatic conflict, negotiating. I have a friend named Lorna. She's a well-known local attorney in employment law. And one day, she and I were at an event together catching up, and we began discussing a mutual friend who was having some issues with his company, and I think he was going through some possible layoffs. So we were kind of chatting a bit. Oh, I wonder if we can help him. Well, during the course of the discussion, I mentioned a couple things that I thought might be good for him as he was working on with his leadership team at his company that was kind of flailing. And then I qualified it. I kind of felt like, oh, God, I sound so bossy. So I qualified it with a statement. I said, well, that makes it sound like I'm an expert or something, but, you know, addressing his leadership issues. Basically, I was feeling like I was sounding too bossy and was kind of backing it out. And Lorna stopped me. And she heard me conditionalizing myself and realized it was really not true. And she said, no, Katie, actually, with what you do and the length of time doing it, you would be considered an expert by legal standards. I never looked at myself that way. Now, that was after, you know, a dozen or so years of being a consultant, but that is what you lead towards, is you work in that space. When I started seeing how I'd been marginalizing myself, I changed the way I started thinking about myself. Even if it means sometimes having to fake it to make it a little bit, until my composure catches up with myself. That is so critical. Can we hear what we do to ourselves that undercuts our abilities? We do. So thinking like the expert that you are, or the specialist that you are, or the area of expertise that you are, is going to move you more into that role because you're going to start thinking it, and you take the mental process of the think, say, do. You're not going to ever do something until it starts with a thought, and I want your thought to begin with, I'm a pro, I'm a pro, I'm a pro, okay? Manage that self-talk. Here's some beautiful sentiments from Janice. Janice took the full class twice, and she still loyally attends coaching calls and webinars, and I know she was going to try to actually join us today. I don't see her in the attendee list. But when I first spoke to Janice, she used words like toxic work environment and tired and slow. She had a life coaching business that she'd put on the back burner because she was doing full-time work somewhere else that she did not thrive in. So she reached out to me to take her through the Time to Fly course. You can see from her course, from her quote, that she turned her coaching around. But what she doesn't mention in this excerpt is how, from the start of class to before she ended the 14 weeks, she had not one, but 2 new client contracts for life coaching. She took every single word that she heard from me in the class to heart. She soaked it up all positively as she could, and she put this beautiful energy back into the group, and I loved her participation. I just loved having her as part of that. Every single woman that's been in this class, I can tell you, has had a story that's been great like that. Janice. So that's the 3 areas. There you go, the 3 terrific areas of asking for, making a difference. Establish credibility, build your skill set, position yourself as the expert. So I want to mention something at this point, because your head is a huge factor. Can you tell? Yes, your head's a huge factor. You don't have a huge head, you have a huge factor in your head. I've helped so many people, but the ones that really made their businesses produce results were the ones that were all in. The ones that knew they could do every single piece of these tips and techniques that I just laid out, and the ones that were in the Time to Fly course. And perhaps most importantly, they were willing to admit that they'd been down and they'd been flailing. It took them a while, but I think there was something very therapeutic about admitting I'm fearing of failure. So that's cool. There's so much about what I believe that takes me forward, and I want that for you as well. So I did this. I became more aware of my credibility, developed those skills. This is kind of your to-do list. I began thinking like the expert, and something that I didn't go into details, but I managed the business of the 3 legitimate must-have legs, which is the portfolio piece, the marketing piece, and the administration piece, which is where you lead it like a leader, right? Think of it this way. What are you going to do next? It's not a matter of whether you can do it or not, what you're going to do and whether you can do it or not. It's a matter of when you're going to do it and how. And I realize that sounds a little bit motivational, but I share this slide with you because somebody said that to me midway through a consulting challenge that I had, and he prefaced it with, I'm not saying this to try to motivate you, Katie. I'm saying it because this is the fact. If you are focusing on it, you've got that vision, you're looking forward, you've got something in front of you. It's not a matter of whether or not you can do it. I mean, unless it's a super, super crazy harebrained idea, you're going to do it. It's a when and it's a how. So what are you going to do next? And you have a choice. So I've just put several things on your plate in front of you for, okay, got to do this. Okay, I want to do this. All right, I feel it in me. I know what's in front of me. I hope you're saying those sort of things to yourself. You can take what you've just learned here. You can review your notes. You can hang on for just a little while and qualify to get that one pager that's so helpful. You can go it alone and you can crush them, baby, right? But what are the chances you're going to actually do it like you've imagined without help? You might. You know, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but it's a lower chance. What's the chance that you'll get all those actions slam dunked and stay excited? Real life happens and you get back into the regular old thing. So here are your two choices. In front of you, choice number one, I can blink my eyes, like Dream of Jeannie, and hope for you to get going with all you need right now and make it happen. You'll do it by yourself and you'll make it happen. I want that for you. Or choice number two, I really want this for you. I can be your partner in this. And I can do what I do so well as a consultant and facilitate it with you. And I don't take hundreds of women. I take a handful of women and we drill down into it. I can keep you on the path. I can keep the pace. I can hold you accountable. You'll have lessons and measures, and you'll know that you're not going through it alone because you've got myself and the online community that's there for you too. So that's the two options. Do it alone, or I can do something about it with you. And that's where the online training can help you. I've got all of those skills set up in that online course that you heard me refer to left and right called Time to Fly. You can download it right away. You can make it start happening now. There's actionable steps, one at a time. It includes a comprehensive self-confidence reminders and this workbook that you see for feeling good about it and knowing that you can go through it. But what I'll be showing you in the course is my proprietary approach for building and maintaining a successful consulting business that's lasted 28 years, right? And it's thrived. It's more than that. It's the method whereby I've put it into a teachable process that translates into your business and your success, all the while anchoring that confidence. Why wouldn't you want that for you? The confidence is what makes all the difference in the world. All right, so think about that, and this is what the class looks like. This is a quickie version of it. The road to figuring out this class was long, and it's good that I have the heart of a teacher. It's part of what I do as a consultant. So I've learned and I've researched, and then I've documented it and experienced, right? And I trademarked it. And that's what the course is. So it'll help you develop your business model and the structure. It will help you deliver your services based on your values. One of the first things we do is we go through assessing what your values are. Organizing your schedule for consulting. It helps you listen and diagnose clients rather than selling to them. You'll be glad to know you don't have to sell to them. In fact, that's going to be counterproductive. You're going to build long-term repeat and referral clients. Consultants get clients through repeat and referral. And once you have a baseline of that, think about that trust you and love you, then they just keep coming back and you don't really have to sell much at all anymore. And you can learn what it takes to have grace and composure in front of clients, right? All of that beautiful stuff. Here's the format. It's on demand, or you can take it as you go, whereby I deliver you a lesson every other week. So they're all downloadable lessons in video format and handouts. There's a welcome and an orientation, and then bi-weekly lessons, 18 total, that ends up spanning for 14 weeks from start to end. Video tutorials, so each lesson is, like somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Each has assignments in it and forms, nice forms. You get 100% email support from me. You also get the Facebook private support group to talk to get things, if somebody's online and they can answer something for you, because Carol's online there and she knows the answer to something that Martha's asking, and how perfect, and they can communicate before they have to try to grab me to get the answer. The curriculum looks like this. Lesson 1 is about your business values. How many of you have your business values lined out? How many have your path forward articulated? Lesson number 2 is a portfolio that works for you. What is in that portfolio of services and products? How about your brand? What makes you uniquely you? What's going to set me apart? Why am I going to want to buy from Jessica before I buy from Julie or partner with Julie? Um, Marketing and networking is one of those things that you trust in the process. You just go out and do it. You don't have to have flyers and handouts and pamphlets. You don't have to do any of that. In fact, I recommend that you don't do it in consulting. Lesson 5 is the administration piece, which is all about, legal and how do I hire a graphic artist, and even should I, and what should I pay for, and what should I do myself, and how do I bill myself, and we learn in that lesson, how do you come up with your rates? And there are there might even be 4 different approaches that you do that you can go at to come up with something. And then lesson 6 and 7 is the consultative sales process. That's the process of just listening deeply and asking powerful questions, and that eventually leads to having sales as a consultant. And then last, of course, we wrap up and we launch forward and look at what's next. Included in the class, unlimited email access to me, as I said, and I am attached to my email left and right. A substantial e-workbook. It's just under 100 pages. Online teaching platform that is lovely, super easy to work with. It's called Teachable. I've put together a bunch of blank templates for you. So like if you wanted to look at how a proposal looked or how a discovery looked, you can take mine, start from it, and edit and add and subtract from it. Same with check sheets, and I'm adding to those all the time. I'm also adding reference guides. So this is just a few visual shots of what the online looks like. You go to this page, then you log in, and you've got the list of all your lessons. You keep track of the lessons. You can download them. It tells you which ones you finished or not. Very appetizing for those of you that like just really digging into lessons, which I love. Then here's one particular lesson. It shows the video, and you click on the video, and you can play it right there. So the video is me talking you through things, and you taking moments out to put it on pause and complete assignments. Here's an example of one of the pages in the workbook. Actually, this is one of the piece of the video, I think. Benefits of a strong opening. This is in the discover phase of the consultative sales process, so that's a part of a video snapshot. And this is one of the pages where I have you stop and do an assessment. So the course has been met with rave reviews, and I'd love to hear, you hear more from the alums, because I've got quotes from them and testimonials from them. But with that in mind, I want you to think about whether you can do that now, and whether now being my partner is feeling really good. So I'm looking to fill this next class and to implement the Time to Fly system with me. Everything that you've seen. So if you would like that, right? Can you visualize yourself there? I don't know all of you, but I know that the women that I have seen come to these sessions, and I have some questions up here that I'm going to address in just a minute, are right. They're asking the right questions. You're asking the right questions. You've got the right sort of challenges. The negative self-talk that you have is not unusual, so don't feel like you're out there on your own. And it's your business, and you need to have savvy and awareness about it. It gives you kind of that quote MBA in consulting, figuratively speaking, how to begin charging what you're worth and that sort of thing. So for the right person, you'll know that this is right for you. I'll be here to mentor you through that in the entire process. And if we end up working together, I'm giving you everything you need. Okay? But all that's contingent on you making that decision. And we can get into it, and if you're not a good pair for it, or if you're feeling, a week or 2 into it, you're like, nope, that's no good, then I have a 100% guarantee. I'll talk about that in just a sec. So here's what the offer looks like. This class, because I'm launching it right, this class typically is $1,800. All right, but let me tell you what else is going to come with it, because we're not going to do the $1,800 today. But let me first tell you what else I'm going to put on with it, so that you can get going. If all you got out of this course was a little bit more confidence, would it be worth the investment? I know it would, because I've seen what confidence can do. Or what about just having the community of other consultants? That alone's worth something. So the class that I'm also tossing in as a bonus is something you could get started on right away. It's all about implementing more skills in your natural consulting style. And if you want practice in the actual phrases, how to use some of your language that helps you sound confident, Then I'm throwing in this fantastic class. It's called the Confidence Master Class. It's downloadable. It's activity rich. It gets you working on phrases and behaviors. And that second step that we talked about with actually the first step with being legitimate is a piece of this bigger picture. So the confidence around the behaviors is part of what's in this class. And this is the basic of the curriculum. Establishing your credibility. We talked a little bit about that today, but it goes more into that. Demonstrating competence, building strong relationships, and showing support. And the impact of it is your credibility goes up. That self-doubt that you have, it tackles that. Kaboom. It gives you phrases. I believe in scripting things ahead of time so that when you need to go into a situation that you're not feeling confident, you can start with something to say that you've practiced that you do feel comfortable with. And so that's a $795 class, but I'm going to put that in it. So it's usually an $800 class, and that you get immediate access to. So you get the Time to Fly course, you get the Confidence Master Class, nearly at $800. What about also pulling in your value of worth as a client? In other words, if your positive confidence also positively affected how you felt comfortable charging something. So what about your money story? This is an immediate training, ready when you are. It's a 1-hour training webinar that investigates where money talks to you. What's your outlook on money? How's it controlling your success? Can you hear the shadows of self-worth being pulled out of that brain of yours? What about your habits? What are your messages to yourself? And oh God, all truly critical stuff to get your head on straight, because when you don't feel like you should be charging something, it comes out, and then your clients don't want to pay for it because they think thinks she's giving me a discount, but I actually just see it as maybe not worth what she's wanting. So, so that's a $99 workshop, and that we talk about self-statements, we talk about impulse purchases, we talk about your relationship with money, and then we review 5 things that turn money into happiness. So that's on demand, and that's another $99. So you can do that right now, okay? So that's why this is a really great time to buy Time to Fly. It's loaded with that training, and you're going to have it forever. Heck, you can share it with a friend. You can share that training, that money story or the confidence class with a friend if you want to take the video training together. I love that. But when you buy Time to Fly, you're going to get that. You're going to get the Confidence Masterclass. You're going to get the $99 money. And we know that gets you that oomph around it. And then last of all, I'm also going to put this other class bonus in because I thought it was a great fit, How to Speak Up in Meetings. And that is a $99 quick. You can listen. You just listen to it if you want. And that's downloadable. I talk about it, how to be in a meeting and have some sort of power and influence. Especially when meetings are stuck, or they're circling the drain, or it's like Groundhog Day, or they don't have a purpose. So we use the language around what I call the meeting movers. Okay, so let's look at that. To recap, the class, the 14-week class online with me, this is so appetizing. And the Time to Fly is $1,800. The Confidence Mastery is $800. How to Speak Up in Meetings is $99. Your money story is $99. And if I can get you to commit today, because I want you in there with me, I'll give you a 1-hour consultation with me whenever you want it for free. Maybe you want it right off the bat. Maybe you want it in 2.5 hours. I'll actually do that too. That's worth $250, and that's what I charge for my time. We can discuss that crazy barrier that's been hanging around in your head. We can talk about what your calendar looks like, how you're going to launch this, or how you're going to take it up a notch. I'm an ICF certified coach. I've had those types of conversations with hundreds of people that are working through their confidence, or they want clarity and a path forward. But that is only after you make the commitment. And I've got to guarantee money back within 30 days. You're in this class within 30 days, which is roughly lesson 3. I think well, lesson 3 would be, day 0 would be lesson 1, day 14 would be lesson 2. It's every other week you get a lesson, so you have 2 weeks to continue, and then day 28. So that'd be lesson 3 would be day 28. If you want to cancel before then, no questions asked. You can start that. Okay. So and you can keep everything that you've got because I'm not going to be able to take it away from you anyway, right? And we'd have spent the time on the phone with one another. So that's going to be this is what I've got it for you. And you guys are here live. This is for you. $997. And if the chunk is too much, do it in 4 payments of $297. And that's the independent study. So that includes the access to me. It does not include any coaching sessions. There's also a coached version, but you can go to skirtstrategies.com/fly and get started in that, and then you'll be connected with the other women that are already in it. But you have to go to that button, skirtstrategies.com/fly. Okay? So with all that, I know you've stuck with me for a long time. I also have a couple questions I'm going to answer here in just a sec. Over an hour has passed, and you're still on. Thank you. Way to go. You guys are in it for yourselves. I love that. I'm going to be sending you this one-page checklist. It's kind of a cheat sheet to remind you how to keep your confidence game on overdrive. If you're still here and you want this, I'm going to send it to you anyway if you're still here, because those of you that have hung in here are going to get that. And if you're only on the phone, by the way, if you're attending the webinar only on the phone, you can either unmute and let me know, say something, or actually I don't think you can because I've got everybody muted automatically. But you can send me a note, or I will. No. I'll see that you're registered. GoToWebinar does that for me. Okay. So let's address a couple of the questions. If you've got more, jot them down in here. These are the couple that I've seen already. Somebody asked me about certification. What about certification? Do I need to have any sort of certification to be a consultant? So I'm guessing that. So Lisa's asking me that, and I'm guessing, Lisa, that you are not a consultant yet, or maybe you've just started it. If you want to add that to the question box right now to give me some clarification, that would be great. No, there's not a generally accepted certification for or standard for certification for a consultant. There are certain areas of expertise. If my area is water management, or my area is nuclear engineering, and I consult in that, then there might be some standards within that business that are good to have. But to be able to do most of coaching, ICF certification is nice, or any other standard where you've got a credential, that's good. In the future, Time to Fly is going to have its own certification. So if you get through this class, we can upgrade you later on in the year to get that certification as well, which also gets you royalties and access to my material, but that's down the road a little bit. So I would say don't worry too much about certification. I do know that, and I went through a phase where I was really sensitive or worried about my level of credential, and do I have enough letters beyond my name, and so I went out and got some things here, and I think that's, it was right after that I got coaching certified. That was about 11 years ago. But nobody, in fact, for coaching, I've only had 2 clients. Right off the bat, 2 clients asked me if I had a coaching credential, and I said I was working on it, and both of them were like, okay, that's fine. Nobody has asked me since. Nobody. And I've had hundreds and hundreds of hours of coaching with people. So do a little research in your area, and if it is something that you would like, then consider it. What we'll say more about certification is the way you show your experience, the way you carry yourself, the way you do those 3 steps that we've just talked about today actually says more than something that shows a certification. Because if somebody's certified, even a master coach, I looked at master coach, I'm like, they're a master coach, that's really accomplished, but what if they're not pleasant, or what if they're just not good at it? So what's the best way to know what to charge? And I think, Martha, you also had a question. In an information society that expects things for free, how do you then decide what to charge for, and what to start charging, or even when to charge, or even what to charge? When to start charging, or even when to charge? Okay, both really great questions from both of you. If you're going to do something for free, you can put strings on it that do not cost the client money. For example, if I'm going in to do a speaking engagement, I do a lot of keynote speaking. Somebody asked me to come into their conference or their convention and they would like me to speak to a group of 500 people, I have a speaker's fee. If for some reason they can't meet that, then I turn around and I say, okay, well, here's what I can do. Can you have everyone buy one of my books? That'll fray part of that income. Or can you give me, if you like what you hear, can you give me a reference? Or can you give me a testimonial? Or can you give me the name of someone else that might be able to use this? So and that doesn't cost them anything, and everyone is always bends over backwards to do something like that. There's lots that you can get in value from them that is not equivalent to them paying you actual money. But don't jump to that conclusion right off the bat. You've got to be able to figure out what do I want to give away and what's worth it. If you attended the How to Do a Lunch and Learn, if you've taken that training from me, then you know that in the Lunch and Learn I talk about how to set up a class or a teaser or giving them something of value like an assessment or a half-an-hour training, where they still get something out of it, but you also give them an incentive to go forward. So even though they may not have paid anything for it, which I always recommend, at least make it $15, because then they've got a little skin in the game and they show up. Then at the end of that, what do they want to do next? You give them a bit of a teaser. You've given them value, but you also give them a teaser so that now that they've been in the session with you, they get 15% off your full rate of whatever the 2-day session is that's coming up next week or something like that. So yeah, people do expect a lot, but people also have the same expectation around you get what you pay for. So some stuff is good. Other stuff is, it was good because it led me to something else. I like to think that's what this free webinar was. And then other things are, no, you really need to pay for it. And if you're not willing to pay for it, I've had women that won't pay $997 to work on their business. And I think, but that's going to come back to you in many-fold very quickly. Why wouldn't you see it as valuable that way? So that's what you've got to think of, is where's your mind, where's your head coming from it. And if you're just kicking off and you don't have the flexibility or you're worried about charging, you just need the experience, then that's okay too. Okay. I'd like to go, here's somebody else. I'd like to go around handing out my business cards and brochures. Is that effective? Thanks for that, Melissa. I do not recommend, you're welcome, Martha. I do not recommend as a consultant, not really even as a coach either, brochures, flyers, business cards definitely, but you're not just handing them out because you want to give people stuff left and right. You want them to remember you. You don't want them to be distracted by something that's in your hand. Flyers and brochures sometimes cheapen a professional service, and so that's why I recommend that you don't use those. In Time to Fly, we spend a lot of time talking about how to network in an easy way, how to just be, I call it see and be seen. So just being out there to where the community sees you as a real person. You're not a weirdo. You actually come out to things, and people like that because it helps your credibility. So business cards are good to have, and follow up with people is good to have, but you don't have to sell. You don't have to sell yourself. You just have to let them know who you are. Maybe it's with a business card, maybe not. Remind them of who you are. You may have a one-liner, kind of like an elevator speech, but you really don't even have to do that. You ask them about themselves, and that's, dear friends, what they remember. Okay, I'm going to stop there because it's 1/4 and I'm rattling on, but those of you, oh, I love that all of you are just attentive and asking questions, and the couple of other questions that are hanging in there, I'm going to send you a note back directly. I'm sorry about that I didn't get to it, but I want to be careful about your time. Hopefully you found it worthwhile, but that URL, skirtstrategies.com/fly, has the class right now at $997 for you, and that is not going to be around for long, so I urge you to jump on that and be a part of it. I would love to have you in that community. I know that you will thrive. Love to get to know each of you through your questions and attentiveness, so I appreciate that. And keep in touch with me, okay? Katie@skirtstrategies.com, and we'll see you in the Ethernet, all right? May you be happy, may you be healthy, May you have a productive week.